So today I'm joined in the studio by Shelley Cowan, who's the founder of Access Avenue and Just Us. How are you doing, Shelley?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. Our paths crossed 10 years ago when I came down with the UTV cameras and filmed you. And yeah, so it's wonderful to catch up and find out what happened next. So before we get into the conversation and reveal a bit more about the cameras as well, I'm going to give you a bit of background on Shelley and her businesses. So Access Avenue is a company focused on improving accessibility and creating inclusive, sustainable futures. So after being diagnosed with severe ME at the age of just 15, Shelley spent 12 years confined to bed and another 10 years in a wheelchair, facing countless accessibility challenges. Her experience, combined with extensive research, inspired her to launch Access Avenue to help venues unlock the purple pound, which is the spending power of people with disabilities. Shelley also founded the Just Us group, which advocates for equality and supports marginalised communities. She's just launched her new campaign called Accommodation for All after discovering that only 17 hotels in the UK are fully accessible and equipped with essential features like hoists for people with disabilities. So something that we really need to be talking about here on the podcast, and something, society needs to be talking about. But Shelley, it's really business that you've set up because of your own experience. So I think we kind of have to go there first of all, if you don't mind. But your experience of developing ME at 15 completely changed your life.
It did. First of all, you met me whenever I was in the wheelchair, and I had been through the 12 years confined to bed. At that stage, I didn't even expect to be out regaining learning and education again, but to be able to go through everything and to be where I am today is a result of all the challenges that I have faced and the barriers and the issues of being a wheelchair user. And
so I suppose, ME, even to help people understand what that actually is, it's one of those very misunderstood conditions, but it had a debilitating impact on your life. What was it like pre-ME and after ME?
Pre-ME, I can't remember my life before it. I became ill, and just with 24-hour symptoms, and just as the days went on, I just got weaker and weaker, and I ended up just bedbound, being hoist lifted, tube fed. My mum and dad looked after me with a team of carers, and to be honest, at that stage I never thought that I would ever be out of the bed again. To me it was just surviving. And then as it progressed and I started to improve, it was the upside of that, where I was starting to be able to be hoist lifted into a chair. I was able to be out in a wheelchair, and that's again that was where I discovered all the challenges, where I was trying to integrate into society. I wanted to be a part of it so much, and my personality is where I want to be involved, participate as fully as I can, but there were these barriers and challenges, accessibility and discrimination challenges, just to get out and about again and just to be a normal person in society again.
And that was so frustrating for you, because you were so dependent then.
Yeah.
And I remember coming to visit, you wanted to say thank you to your parents for, they'd gone through so much as well, watching their daughter go through everything, but they had to adapt their lives to help care for you, didn't they?
They did.
And we surprised them with an award called People Like You. Which was such a...
Trying to keep that quiet and a secret.
Do you remember?
Yeah, it was, and the UTV cameras arriving to the house.
And we were all hiding around the corner, and they didn't know what we were doing.
The park didn't know what was happening either. The estate that I live in didn't know what was happening. And Daddy had actually broken his tooth as well, and I was trying in a nice way to say, maybe you should get that looked at, and he kept saying, they're coming to see you, they're not coming to see you. And I was like, Well, really, they're coming to see you.
Oh, that's right. We had that. We said we were coming to film you because otherwise we couldn't have got in the house.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
It was such a special day and a very emotional
yeah.
day. But
yeah, and I was just not long out in the wheelchair at that stage.
Right.
I'd been studying, and then I'd met you. You were presenting the award for essential skills,
That's right.
and that's where it all went from there.
But look at you now.
Mm-hmm.
So no wheelchair anymore.
No wheelchair anymore. I still need a lot of support, so I can't walk unaided. I can't get out of a chair unaided, and I need the support of the girls and brilliant team of carers, and I still need help with every aspect of daily living, from washing to dressing to feeding. It's still needed. To do my education, it's voice recognition computer, it's voice assisted technology. I had help like a scribe and a reader during the degree, foundation degree and degree. But then when it moved to the masters, it was totally on my own, and that was a big scary move. Voice recognition has come on a long way, but it hasn't come on in the leaps and bounds that it needs for to do a master's solo.
It's amazing what you've achieved, and the fact that you went on to master's level is something else.
Yeah, it's just been brilliant. To be honest, when I started education, I just wanted to regain and learn what I had lost over the years. I couldn't spell my own name. I didn't know how to count or spell, and to think back to those years. So I just wanted to learn again. And at the time, people would say, and what are you doing this study for? At the time, it was really to gain knowledge, but everything I have done has led me to where I am today. So it just feels right.
And you are joined in the studio, even though they're very quiet and not on mic, by your two carers, although you call them your friends,
yes,
in the studio today. But this is your life. Everywhere you go, you have somebody with you.
Yeah, you have to make sure you do the diary, rotas, make sure you have somebody on to get you up in the morning, to get you dressed. Even to come to you today, I had to make sure that I have my outfits ready, and the girl comes in and feeds me, and Carrie and Leanne are here with me today. So it's a logistical, your life is constantly thinking 10 steps ahead of yourself, and you have to think, because of my dietary requirements, it has to be thought of 10 steps ahead. So the girls take me in swimming, they take me shopping, we go dancing, we go everything, you name it.
And you have a lot of fun as well, I think,
definitely,
definitely.
Definitely.
Well, yeah, so in one sense you could go, I don't want to have people with me 24/7, or you embrace it and you
I embrace it.
And talking about your outfit today, it's very lovely. They obviously do a very good job.
Definitely.
Would you come and help me in the morning? And you've embraced this whole idea of the purple pound.
The purple pound.
Tell us a bit more about that.
The purple pound is the spending power of the disabled and the disabled households. It's currently worth 274 billion in the UK, and at the minute, businesses, venues, they're missing out on the purple pound by not being accessible. Hospitality are missing out on £12 billion. Accessible tourism is worth £12 billion, and that's only an estimate. This is not the statistics aren't being kept as well as what they should be. And if that is what's available in the UK, can you imagine what internationally? It's estimated that the global purple pound, or the spending power of the disabled, is $8 trillion. And when you bring in the companions or the friends and family, which they need to be able to go away, it's 13 trillion. So it's a massive, massive untapped market that is very, very underserved.
So where do you come in, and what can you do?
Where do I come in? Well, I can show businesses that it's a win-win situation. By improving accessibility, yes, it might be a bit of revenue or money to start off with, but it can gain your business so much. It's a competitive advantage for your business. You can then be seen as being accessible. The revenues will come in from that, and it pays for itself. You are opening yourself to a whole new gap in the market, and it's unbelievable. There's 132 million people in the world who require fully accessible venues or facilities, and they're not being catered for in society.
And how does that make you feel? I mean, do you think it should be, should it be legal? Is it legal? That we
the
should
standards
be doing
and the
this?
guidelines and the regulations, as we would know them, they're not up to date. They're not what needed. Accommodation and facilities. We work around to have the luxury for everybody, to the wants and the needs of everybody in society, but we are not fulfilling the needs of the people with disabilities, and I think it's actually very sad. As we said, 17 hotels in the whole of UK are fully accessible. To me, when you look at how many thousands of pet-friendly hotels there are, I don't think priorities are fully put in.
It doesn't sound like it at all. Have you visited some of these 17 hotels?
I haven't, but I know that there's one, it's called Brooklyn Hotel in Manchester. And in 1 year, by becoming fully accessible, they were able to gain £217,000 back in 1 year. Can you imagine the year on year? They were able to bring people for conferences, for weddings, because they had the facilities available for people in wheelchairs or for those with poor mobility. And,
So this is not just a nice to have or you should do.
No,
this makes economic sense.
It's the right. It's a human right.
Well,
and
it is that.
It's economic sense, yes. Like there's billions of pounds going to waste here. And, we could become a more accessible world. And if our environment was more accessible, people wouldn't have the obstacles, the hurdles, the issues and the barriers they face. It would just be an easier way of life for everybody.
And so sticking with the hotels, what do you have to be fully accessible? Because I'm thinking of ones that I'm trying to imagine a couple of them, no names, but I can see where they've made efforts to put in lifts, etc. But how do you get to be fully accessible?
Well, fully accessible, it does take time. But whenever I was going on my first holidays as a wheelchair user, it takes 2 months on average for people with disabilities, especially wheelchair users, to be able to go on holiday. That's just to go on an overnight stay. They have to check out, is the facilities suitable? They have to check out if they can fit through the door, if their hoist can fit underneath the bed. They constantly ring them back. You can't book an accessible room online. Whenever I was going away, I had to purchase a portable hoist. It was £1,200, which we put a dog lead on the end of so that the girls could pull it along a corridor in a hotel. So that's £1,200 just to have a toilet, just to be able to be toileted safely and to be transferred into bed. And
so you're paying a fortune.
You're paying a
just
fortune
to go away. It's nearly not worth it.
Yeah, and half of wheelchair users who stay over in hotels either hire or purchase the devices they need, whether that be a hoist or a steady. And by the time you would do that, you're not allowed to purchase for overnight. It has to be on a weekly rental. You then have the charge of the delivery. So all in all, it could cost £500 maybe for a hoist for a night away, 2 nights away.
This is outrageous.
And a steady, you add a steady onto that. I was chatting to a fella yesterday and he said it would cost him £1,000 if he needed to hire the right equipment. It's very, very sad. And when I hear of all-inclusive hotels or all-inclusive holiday packages, everybody thinks of food and drink and what all is included. Is your flight included? Is your accommodation? But to me, all-inclusive needs to be everyone in society included.
Absolutely.
In a
You're
holiday.
really making us think here. How many times have you been able to go on holiday?
It's getting more and more often. It's getting easier now that I'm not a wheelchair user anymore, but I'm still... I used to feel sorry for my carers. So they had me in a wheelchair, that did luggage, they had all the equipment that had to come through. Nobody really helps you once you get there. You may have your wheelchair accessible vehicle. The transportation, the infrastructure, nothing is set up. Do you know what I mean?
Is it worth it when you to get the break.
It's worth it. I love travelling. It's something I always would want to do. I want to get further and further away. But to be quite honest, if the people out there weren't as stubborn as what I am, it's not worth it for people. I know somebody who their parents actually purchased a holiday home in Portrush just to be able to stay away, to have a comfortable and suitable accommodation.
A home from home
a
that
home
was
from
adapted
home.
for them.
Yeah. Also, I know of a person who adapted an RV vehicle and put in specialised equipment that was needed. They're not able to get away. They're not in mainstream. We are excluded and isolated. You know, that's how the people feel about it.
So what are you doing about it? I mean, talk us through the different businesses. So you've got Access Avenue and you've got the Just Us group, and now you've got accommodation for all. So talk us through them all.
Well, first of all, what started was Just Us was set up because I realised when I was getting out and about in society in my wheelchair, it was all fun and it was great, but I suddenly realised I was having to be lifted up a flight of stairs by 4 bouncers to go to a nightclub. I was put out of a restaurant because my wheelchair was supposedly too big. I was put out of a classroom because the teacher wasn't sure how to teach me. So my classmates had to vote whether they were happy enough for me to be there. There's discrimination now that I'm able to put my arm around some of the girls to support me in. I've been judged on my sexuality by 3 staff out of a major supermarket. So to me, the accessibility problems, I soon started to realise that accessibility and discrimination were massive factors in being able to enjoy life to the fullest. So I thought the venues are not safe, inclusive or accessible. And also on top of that, I was involved with different disability groups in drama, and the parents of the adults with disabilities there were coming to me and saying, it's lovely that you're getting out and about. And they were like, but my child or my adult's not getting out and about. And I thought, well, we need to start changing this. So I put together a disco. I just thought it would be a one-off Christmas disco. And then the end result was, when's our next one? And I thought, well, I can't really afford this. So we put together a committee. So Just Us is a not-for-profit organisation, and it's for any adult with disability. It's a non-denominational group, and it's for any disability at all. And we rent, and brilliant now, we've got a great group and a strong committee and volunteer. And we hire venues, we bring the DJ, we bring the entertainment in, and they now are able to socialise and to party like everybody else in society in a safe, inclusive and accessible venues.
And is it really gathering momentum? What's the response been?
It's unbelievable. It's actually been, in the short time that it has been there, 5 years, nearly 5 years. Now, bear in mind, we had to shut it down for 2 years with COVID just for everybody's safety. It's grown so big, actually to the point that I just get overwhelmed with how big it has grown. We had a spring dinner dance there in April, and we had 110 participating in it.
Oh, and where did you have that?
We had it in the Lochern.
Oh,
yeah.
Beautiful.
So we were very up there, posh, you know.
No, just right.
Yes. So they had a fantastic evening. We had a big band, and they had meals. They had photographers. They felt very special, and this Just Us not only helps adults with disabilities, it also helps those that look after them, their families, their friends and their carers, because they're going through similar situations, and it's just a chance for everybody just to release and just to have a wee break. It's great.
And that is the thing too. It's we talked ourselves when I came out to you all those years ago, just, you know, how you couldn't manage without your mum and your dad.
No.
And you were very aware that they could do with a break too, that you all could do with a break from each other
Yes,
sometimes.
yes.
But just to have that pressure taken
I think
off.
Everybody yearns for their own independence.
Yeah, but when you can't get away, like,
no.
You know, most people could say, I'm just going to go for a walk around the block or do something, and you don't have that luxury.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
You have to wait till somebody either comes to you or takes you somewhere.
Yeah.
So you're never fully
I'm never, no.
on your own.
No, never fully on my own. But technology has moved on, and I'm able to send my own messages, my own emails. So it's a bit of independence and a bit of privacy, but you never get privacy really, or you don't get. But
you must be delighted with the Just Us group, and obviously you've tapped into something that I'm sure you couldn't believe that there was nothing like this. I mean, it just
there's very
took you to
little.
start it.
Yes, there's so many organisations for the disabled that have now closed, and it's so important that Just Us stays open. It's amazing how it has changed so many people. I'm so proud of it. The people have just got so much confidence. There's people there that wouldn't have gone out of their home possibly, and now they're looking forward to each event. They're getting their hair done, they're getting the makeup on, and it's normality. And
making new friends.
Yeah,
and
making new friends. Yes. And we do walk and talks. We do cheer and beer in the wintertime when we can't do our walk and talk. But once the winter stopped, they still wanted their cheer and beer, so we kept that going. We do trips, so we've been to the Ulster Aviation Society. So we're trying to teach them things as well, and it's unbelievable. We're big barbecues, you name it, we're at it.
Well done you. And then Access Avenue, then we were going to talk a little bit more about that. So that's where you're going into the organisations and the venues and showing that it could be done differently.
It can be done.
So then how do you do that but without making it difficult? Because I suppose you go into these places, they say that's going to cost too much money, or I don't know where to start. How do you demystify the process and make it easier for
Well, I suppose
businesses?
it's good because I have had the experience of 26 years years experience of being disabled, and not only just in a wheelchair user. I now need support, so I've been through every aspect of disability you could probably talk about, from bed bound to wheelchair bound to being, able to walk with support. So I know where the accessibility issues lie, or the barriers lie. Plus, it's also from all the interviews and the research that I did through my masters, and what I now have the priority. I know what the top priority for people with disabilities or the wheelchairs need, what they expect in hotels or accommodation. So I have put together a grading system which can easily, it makes life more efficient for not only the venue but the disabled person or their family as well. So where it took me months to try and find adequate accommodation, it would literally, as long as you know what grading system they are, it's so much easier.
Oh yeah, that sounds brilliant, because it's very straightforward and you can immediately go to the one that's relevant to you or the best for you.
Yeah.
Talk to me about if there's a business listening to this today and they would like to talk to you or avail of your services. What way does that work?
They just contact me, or but again, I've had factories who want to discuss inclusion strategies. I've had people in magazines want to discuss articles. It's a range of opportunities that's opening for me that I wasn't expecting. But there's so many options and so many things that can be done. It's not all major outlay that it takes to, small changes can make big differences in some cases. It could be something simple that they're needing to change.
Do you feel that society and business is ready to listen now?
Yeah, it
It's
is.
changed.
Inclusion, disability and inclusion, it's a big trend. It's trending in the business at the minute. And I think with the like of Just Us, I've realised as well that people are seeing everybody out and about, and they're becoming more accepting, and people's perceptions of disability has changed so much over the years. People would have been hidden years ago with a disability, and now we're out in society, and the built environment unfortunately was not built for people with wheelchair users or mobility issues. But if we can change that, then you will have more people coming, you will have more international visitors, you will have more domestic visitors, you will have more people out and about in society that can join with weddings, with conferences, and just become another guest, really. If every guest has their own needs, their own desires and wants, and it's just different needs, and as long as I can teach them what they need, then it's an easy option.
And you brought your props in today,
Yes.
your purple suitcases, your accommodation for all. And maybe you don't want to reveal who you're talking to at the minute, but any hotels or venues that you're currently working with?
There's a magazine in England who's very interested. They want me to maybe go over to a panel in November. So
the conversations are starting.
They're very much starting, yes. It's actually, you see, this is only being launched today. The accommodation for all is only being launched today. Yeah, you're launching it for me.
Oh my goodness. I wish I'd known that.
So hotels don't actually know. So
this is brand new.
So
you need to patent that idea.
Yeah.
Now, this is Shelley Cowan's
idea. This is brand new today, and I'm launching it today on your show.
Oh my God, you're absolutely privileged.
Yeah, so hotels as such don't realise it, but over the next few weeks I'll be putting up what they can benefit from, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
And it's definitely something that we all need to be listening to.
The thing is, it's not just Northern Ireland that the accommodation is inadequate or unavailable or inaccessible. This is a global travel problem, and there needs to be transformational change, and we need to be included in society.
What about even the journeys to and from? I mean, what
it's
about
unreal.
air travel?
Air travel, the research showed that I did, 50% of Americans, wheelchair users, are terrified to fly because they're afraid of their wheelchair being damaged. As one said to me, if my wheelchair is damaged, that's my legs. If my legs are damaged, what do I do in a strange company or a strange country to me? Possibly different language, So it's needing to transform everywhere. It's the trains, buses. Buses can only take one wheelchair at one time. If that's not available, you wait. If you have a group of people with wheelchair users, they can't go together. Yeah. If you go to the theatre, there's possibly a wheelchair seat. You can sit beside your companion or your carer or one person. But if you go in a group of 20 for a girly night out or a group meeting or colleagues together, the likelihood is that your friends will be the opposite side of the theatre. Cinema, whenever I was in the wheelchair, usually you're parked beside a bin. So at the end of the cinema and the end of the film, you get covered in popcorn because everybody's firing the popcorn across over you. So it's wee simple things that you don't want to become the second-class citizen. We just want to be part of it. We're not asking, nobody here is asking for luxury. We're just asking for adequate. And through the research that I uncovered, I realised not one person asked for the luxury in the rooms, the luxury in the accommodation. They just wanted adequate accommodation to be able to have a time away and to be comfortable and enjoy themselves. The Accommodation for All campaign is going under the 5 E's, which is explore, equal, effective, enjoyable experiences. And that's basically all everybody wants as a wheelchair user, or anybody really wants, is to have an enjoyable time away without the stresses and the frustrations of people get so worried and worked up, and they get travel anxious. As a wheelchair user, there's so many things can go wrong, so many barriers that it's just not enjoyable for them.
Or, you can see how you decide, let's just not bother, let's just not go, but this is where you come in, Shelley.
There's so much money lost because people don't go on holiday.
Yeah, and making that good business sense is one way to make businesses sit up and listen, even though we've already discussed it is the right thing to do.
It is the right thing to do.
What message do you hope to convey today to our listeners about making a difference or thinking differently?
Accessibility is key. Accessibility is the new trend and it's priority. It's not, as we said, not only the right thing to do, but it is the best thing to do society-wise and economically-wise. If you can include everyone in society, then you are opening up to a bigger customer base. You are being seen as a good business with good ethical practices, and it's just opening the world for everybody, really.
And how do you manage and balance being this voice for people with a disability on accessibility issues, but how do you balance both Access Avenue and Just Us and now this campaign, Accommodation for All?
It really does take up a lot of my life, but I'm so passionate about it. And I think it's because they have given me a purpose in my life, that I just want to help everybody, and I want to empower everybody to have the equal experiences and opportunities in life that's open to everybody else.
Have you had much support? Have you got those people that have got your back?
Oh yeah, yes, I have. I have people rooting behind me. A lot of people in Fermanagh, especially where they see the good work of Just Us. It's people are very, very thankful for what I've done. I was recently awarded Community Champion Award for the Impartial Reporter, and it's things like that you don't ever see coming in your life. And even setting up a business, it's never ever thought it was going to be possible.
And in terms of the business, how does that run? What's your day-to-day look like?
Day-to-day is a bit like this, coming to podcasts, doing interviews, doing Zoom meetings. I'll be going over possibly to England, plus Access Avenue is part of that, is inspirational speaking. So I'll be doing interviews to try and help people with hope, health and growth, and it's opening so many fields. It's unbelievable.
And that does require vulnerability, doesn't it? Because that means that you have to tell your story each time.
It does.
How tough is that?
To be honest, at the start, it would have taken me about 3 weeks to recover from it. It was mentally draining, and you're reliving it again and again because you're telling it. But as time goes on, it becomes easier and easier. I wouldn't say it ever gets easy, but it becomes easier.
That's it. But if we didn't have your voice, where would we be? So you have to hold on to that as your purpose. And
I have to be the change for everybody that can't be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And how is your health at the minute?
Health is coming on well. I'm improving all the time. Sometimes you think it's slow, but that's just me. I want everything tomorrow or yesterday, don't I?
So Shelley, your master's focused on this very issue of accessibility and on the hotel industry.
Yes.
What has your research found? Again,
it just found that there is inadequate accommodation and venues for wheelchair users in Northern Ireland. It showed that it was based on international wheelchair users and domestic wheelchair users as well. And it just stated the failing areas, and there were 4 main failing areas, and they were functional, attitudinal, institutional and logistical. And we discovered that by zoning in on those areas that were the key, then there was an adequate model that could be used and implemented to override these issues.
And that adequate model?
That adequate model is what I will be using to teach venues.
So they'll have to come to you to find that out. We're not going to reveal that here today, sadly. But, well done you.
Thank you.
Very, very important. And, when you've actually lived the life that you have, then you've studied to see what other experiences are, and now you're the perfect person to take this on as a business and help other businesses do things better.
I have the grading clarifications as well, and I have been in each one of those grading stages, so I know what's needed at each stage.
And what's next then? What will you be doing after you leave the podcast today? Have a rest, I think, today.
Have a rest. We've been doing a lot of photography work. PR needs to be set up for the campaign. So once that all goes, it's being launched now, so I would say over the next few days it's going to be very busy.
And if there's a hotel listening to this right now, or a B&B, tell us in the elevator pitch for accommodation for all, what do you want people to understand?
I want you to understand that by becoming more accessible, you are becoming inclusive, and you are opening your doors to everybody in society, and you're not leaving anybody out.
Now, Shelley, we always ask the same question to all of our entrepreneurs, so you're no different. You'll be glad to hear. The purpose of this podcast is to inspire existing business owners and ambitious entrepreneurs like you to grow their business by offering an insight into the success of businesses such as Access Avenue. So what advice would you give to people who may have a business idea but have no idea where to begin, or are unsure as to whether the risk is worth taking?
The risk is definitely worth it if you're passionate about something I would go for it, because you will, you would regret it if you didn't. But if you are passionate enough about something, it's definitely worth it. And go on, just follow your dreams. My dream is inclusive, sustainable futures for all. And I'm pushing that for everybody. And if I can do it, a girl who's been bedbound, wheelchair bound, and recovering from a long-term illness, if I can do it, then anybody out there can do it.
And you're really blazing a trail, I suppose, for entrepreneurs with a disability or who have mobility issues, because there are not many of you out there.
No, there's not. When you have a disability, a lot of your day-to-day is taken up about even being able to get up in the morning, being able to just do the basics. So change is needed, and I might have to be the one to do it.
Well, thank goodness for you. And Shelley, we really appreciate you being here today. It's lovely to catch up with you again after 10, 12 years.
That's unbelievable.
And who knows where you'll be in the next 10, 12 years. You are a champion, and you're definitely making a difference. And we all need to sit up and listen. So thank you so much for being a guest today. Great to see you. And thank you, for tuning in today. I hope you've enjoyed Shelley's story. And if you hear about Accommodation for All, or if you want to help, then do check out the website.
Mm-hmm. It's in the process of being built at the minute, but you can get in touch with all the usual social medias, the LinkedIn and the Instagram, Facebook. And
they will find you.
They'll find me. They'll find me.
So come and find her. She wants to be found. Thank you, Shelley, and thank you to our listeners. And I'll be back again with another episode of the Public Eye Podcast. And this time I'll be joined by Niamh McElhatton from Dara & Co. I'll see you soon. This podcast was recorded in Granite Podcast Studio. Interested in starting up your own podcast but don't know how? Granite Podcast Studio can help. Record your podcast in our state-of-the-art studio, which is based in the heart of Newry City. Our studio has cutting-edge and user-friendly technology and can seat up to 4 people. We also provide an editing service for our team, using your guidance and editing notes to provide you with a flawless finished product, leaving your listeners wanting more. For more information on how you can get started, visit www.granitepodcaststudio.com.